Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I am Kelly Nierick, the Senior Director of Products and Services with the Small Business Association of Michigan. Now more than ever, small businesses need to be protected from cyber attacks. Yet many of our members find cyber solutions to be expensive, complicated, and time-consuming. And that's where SBAM's approved partner, Senseye, comes into play. Senseye simplifies everything for you and provides deliverables that identify your cybersecurity vulnerabilities and reduce your risk and ensure that you recover should an attack occur. With October being Cybersecurity Awareness Month, all of this information that they can provide is very timely. As a small business, you know that resources are not abundant. And this webinar today will provide affordable approaches to managing 80% of cyber threats. We're going to be covering tips for you as an individual to protect against cyber attacks, simple cyber safeguards for your small business. We're going to cover a couple of case studies, including phishing and ransomware attacks. And then what is your sensible cyber hygiene score? Presenting today are our Senseye representatives, the Chief Client Success Officer, David Behan, and the Chief Growth Officer, Raj Patel. David had spent over 6 years as a cabinet member for Governor Rick Snyder as the Director of Department of Technology, Management, and Budget, and Chief Information Officer for the state of Michigan. There, he led a department that employed 2,800 associates with an annual operating budget of $1.4 billion. Under David's direction, Michigan established itself as the national leader in the IT and cybersecurity arena. He co-founded a software company, InfoReady, and served as a vice president and CIO of its parent company. David holds several board and committee positions in professional and technology organizations. He frequently serves as a keynote speaker, expert panelist, and moderator for national and international audiences, providing expertise on information technology, cybersecurity, data management, and leadership. For the last 20 years, Raj Patel was a partner and practice leader of Plant Moran's cybersecurity consulting practice. He joined the firm in 2002 to build the practice from the ground up. And under his leadership, the team grew to nearly 100 professionals, serving large and small clients in both the private and public sector. Through his vast knowledge and highly sought after cybersecurity expertise, Raj cultivated a strong reputation for trust and value in Southeast Michigan. Crain's Detroit Business recognized him as a 40 under 40 recipient in 2009 and an American Dreamers Award winner in 2007 for his professional accomplishments. Raj's articles have been published in various publications, including Corporate Board Member, Chief Executive, CFO, and on Market Watch. He's also written cyber blogs for Crain's Detroit Business. So you are in good hands with Senseye. Just a note that this webinar is being recorded. It is a series of monthly webinars that SBAM and Senseye are doing together, and all of them are posted on our website as well as on Senseye's. We will send you a follow-up email with a link that you can refer to later and share with your other team members. So with no further ado, I would like to pass it on to David with Senseye, who's going to kick us off.
Hey, thank you, Kelly. Great introductions. Those bios are embarrassing and too long. Makes us sound old, but welcome, everybody. You're in for a real treat today. Raj Patel is an outstanding speaker with just some great experience. And I want to thank SBAM. What a great partner you guys are, and to Kelly for kicking this off. So we're going to get started today with a poll question, which is pretty awesome. Evan Brisky, who is behind the scenes here at Senseye, is going to help us with our poll question. But our first poll question today is, who was, because it is October, as Kelly said, October Cybersecurity Awareness Month, but we want to ask when it started, right? So who was the first US president to declare October as Cybersecurity Awareness Month? And Evan's going to pull that question up. And Raj, quick question for you. Where were you when this was declared for the first time?
I had actually just started at Plant Moran. It was a couple of years, but I think what I remember the most was in 2004. My wife Jackie and I didn't have any children. Now we have three, two in high school and one in middle school. So life was a lot different in 2004 for both of us.
Well, I guess if people are listening closely, Raj, you just gave them the answer.
I'm sorry.
So I hope you haven't put your answer in yet, folks, but I think you're running out of time. So back when the first president declared this, I was the CIO of Washtenaw County, Michigan. It's a great organization, and fond memories of that place as well. So Evan, I think we're almost up with our 30 seconds. Let's see what the results were. All right. Well, you can see who the winner. The actual answer is George W. Bush, and 38% got that. So that's just a fun way of starting off this presentation today. And now I'm going to turn over to Raj Patel and let him take it over.
Thank you, David, and thank you, Kelly. And so what we wanted to do was start the presentation with focusing on the Awareness Month and what you as an individual need to do about cybersecurity and being cyber smart. So the first thing is you want to protect the keys to your kingdom. So we all have safes in our homes, and we have documents in there or items that we want to keep safe, and we protect the codes to those safes. And same thing over here, you got to protect your passwords. It's really interesting that we take passwords so lightly when it's something that needs to be protected the most. It has to be unique, so at your organizations, you want to make sure everyone's got their own password so that you can hold individuals accountable. There are times you find companies, even the accounting departments, they're sharing the passwords for the internet accounts for the corporation, and in that case, you have no idea who went in and did that transaction. So having unique user IDs and passwords is very important. Keeping that complex and long is important, because then hackers will have a hard time breaking your passwords. Keeping them fresh, meaning, have new passwords every 60, 90 days. Don't reuse old passwords, because one of the things what happens is you can go in the dark web and old passwords, you can always find old passwords there. So keeping them fresh. And then lastly, keeping them a secret. And I think the last point you want to emphasize at home also, because I have teenage kids and I know they like to share passwords, especially those Netflix passwords. So you want to make sure that you keep your password secret. You're not sharing their password. This is something I would say even educate your children, because I will say even in my household, even though I'm a cyber expert, that's something that I always have to tell them about, keeping their password safe and secret. The next one is actually really relates to October. Is, what do we tell our kids when a stranger approaches them with candy? We tell them to run. Think about the same thing with you. When you get an email from a stranger and you don't recognize the person, don't trust any links in the email. Don't trust any attachments in the email. If the email asks you to give out a password, don't give out a password. And delete suspicious emails. Don't leave them lingering in the inbox. And you want to block those suspicious senders also in emails, just like we block emails, junk emails. You want to block the suspicious senders as well. But again, remember, just like don't take candy from a stranger, don't accept links from a stranger's email as well. I don't know, David, if you want to add anything to this slide here.
No, I just want to know where I can get that T-shirt.
We're working on the Sensei logo on it, and then we'll get it to you.
All right, that sounds great.
Yep.
It's great advice, though, Raj.
Yep. The next one is keeping healthy. That's something at Sensei we talk about cyber hygiene. If you have good hygiene, then you're healthy. And really three main things here. One is antivirus. We all have laptops at work and at home. Always keep your antivirus up to date. And Keep your patches up to date at your work. Don't neglect the key patches. But one way to make sure you're up to date on both is by turning your devices off every night. Some of us might have the tendency of leaving a laptop on or put it to sleep when we go to bed. And what happens with that is the updates are not updating. Normally updates you have to turn off the system to update. But the other good reason to turn your devices off is it clears the buffers, it refreshes the memory. You'll find your devices as much faster and operates more efficiently when you do this. Now, one tip I would give you is all of us have Wi-Fi routers at home, whether it's Xfinity or AT&T. And what happens is those routers are plugged in 24/7 every day. And what I would suggest is that you buy a timer plug and plug your devices into the timer, just like we plug the Christmas trees in a timer. But set that timer to turn off every night at, say, 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. And that way all your routers at home are resetting themselves every night. You'll notice much faster service, but it's something that we don't think about. We always keep it on. I actually, at my house, have a smart plug, and even when we go out of town, I just turn it off. That way I know no one's getting into our house network. So keep something in that in mind also. The other one is protecting yourself. So just like we protect paper files or any jewelry we have in our safe, we want to make sure that we encrypt sensitive data. So think about, where are your personal text files today? Where are they sitting? In most cases, they're sitting on your laptop or your home desktop, and it's sitting in unencrypted format. So I will always say, buy an encrypted hard drive, external drive, or USB drive. Get 2 of them and save all your text files in both hard drives and unplug them from your computer, because really you only need them a couple times a year. Like, David, how many times do you need your text files a year?
Just a couple times a year. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's no need
I have to talk to my accountant, right?
That's right, and pay your taxes. But there's no reason to keep those files on your hard drive. Save them on the encrypted hard drive. Put them in a locked drawer and plug them in when you need them. That way, if you had a ransomware attack, you're fine. None of your data, sensitive data, either is stolen or locked up. Keep your devices safe. It's something that we've got to tell our children too, is they carry their iPhones, they carry them everywhere. They need to remember to keep them safe. And it's just not the iPhones. Now it's even the smartwatches, because even they carry a lot of data. The other one is the Wi-Fi. We have a tendency to use free Wi-Fi everywhere we go. So think about, we're at Starbucks, we use free Wi-Fi. We're at the airport, free Wi-Fi. And that's something I would strongly encourage you don't do. Most of us have phones that have a data line, and you can tether Wi-Fi right off your phone. You're safer using that than a public Wi-Fi, because you have no idea who sets that Wi-Fi up. I could set up a rogue Wi-Fi, call it Metro Detroit Airport, free Wi-Fi, and you might just log into it, and I could be tracking exactly what you're doing with it. So the best thing to do is really tether from your phone and use that cellular network that is yours. And the last thing, if you're connecting to work or other sensitive areas, always use VPNs. That way you have a secure channel going through. One thing I'll tell everyone is we do have a chat box. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to post them in there, and we will either respond them during the session or at the end of the session. So feel free to raise questions or even make comments. If you don't agree with something I said, post it in there. And David will make sure he brings it up and flags me down on what I said. The last one I have here is, we all have backup keys for our cars, and we have to have a backup key for our data. So make sure you're backing up data, and make sure you're able to recover that data. So think about ransomware. If you get hit with a ransomware and you have a second copy of your data elsewhere, you don't need to pay the ransomware. If your personal laptop gets hacked, because you have the data that you need. So that's why it's very important. If for your organization, imagine if you lost your systems on November 28th, for example. how are you going to recreate your financial statements from early in the year, or certain meetings that you needed meeting notes from early in the year. Now, I'd say most companies are really good with backups. They do a great job with backups, but I think at home, personalized, we could do better with backups. And nowadays, the technology is there. If you're using Apple, Apple's got an online secure system. You got Google Drives, Microsoft. So there's a number of places that you can use to store your data, backup data. The only thing I'll say is whatever your data you use at personal level, make sure you have a strong password to that data site, because if that password is weak, somebody could get to your data through your weak passwords. David, anything you want to add?
No, just Raj is great advice for everybody. I actually, I do the thing you talked about with the portable backup. I back up quite a bit, and then I'm kind of crazy about this stuff. I actually hide it in my house, and you put it under lock and key. I hide it so nobody can find it. So great advice, though. Backups are so critical.
Yep. And it is time for our second poll.
All right. So our second poll question again, Evan Brisky will be bringing it up for you here in a second, but it is it better to memorize passwords versus using password manager software? Right. Those are great tidbits for everybody. And I think everybody's going to have probably taken a lot of notes, but I want to reemphasize to you and to everyone on the call, please put your questions in chat. If you want to challenge some of Raj's ideas and advice, put it in there. But let's make this as interactive as possible. Raj, you're good with that, right?
Yep, absolutely. This is a question I get a lot recently, is which one is better? So I'm curious what the audience says, and I can kind of give a little bit of my background on it.
Yeah, so Evan's going to pull up the answers here in about 2 seconds. Let's see what everyone said today. So what do you think, Raj?
Actually, for some reason I can't see, so you got to tell me what the answer is.
Yeah, is it better to memorize passwords versus using password manager software? Polling results say yes, 24% say yes, 52% say no, and 24% say don't know. So I think I know what the answer to this one is, but I'll let you kind of go and explain it.
So if you have a great memory, obviously it's better to memorize your passwords. But the challenge we have nowadays is we have 100 different places we access different things. And how are you going to memorize passwords to all these different ways to doing it? So one, I would say it's always better to memorize if you can. But if you cannot, there's benefits to using a good password manager software. But to me, the best benefit you get with a password manager software is if you get a phishing email and there's a link you click by mistake, your password manager is not going to give out the password, because the password manager links the right website, the right user ID, and the right password. So to me, that's one of the best benefits of a password manager. It helps against phishing attacks and giving out your password. David, add your thoughts.
Yeah. I mean, I have hundreds, literally hundreds of passwords, and I use a great password manager called Keeper. And quite honestly, I'm not sure I could, all my passwords, and I highly recommend everyone's passwords be long and complex. And so using a password manager, in my opinion, is the right way to go.
Yep. So hopefully that was a little educational for everyone. It's a question we all have on our minds, which way to go. This is another thing, again, you take home, talk to your family about it, friends about it, tell your kids about it, encourage them to use the password software if they're having trouble memorizing long passwords. One second, I get to the, there you go. So one of the things, as we talk to small businesses, I'm going to pivot to small business. And I've talked to a number of them, and one of the things I hear is, we're concerned about this. We hope it doesn't happen to us. We pray it doesn't happen to us. The challenge we have is it's not affordable. We don't know what to do. And that's why we're not doing anything about this. And so I would say, hope and strategy, or hope and prayer is not a good strategy for protecting from cyber. So let's now pivot to what can you do from a cybersecurity standpoint. So first, let's look at the common threats. I'm sorry. So there's a poll question.
So we're going to bombard you with poll questions today, folks, because we want you to get interactive, get you moving in this. And this next question is, how are you investing in cyber today? And select one of the following. You have a defined cyber budget. You're using outside consultants or vendors. You're not investing enough, or you're not investing currently. And, cyber is almost becoming just like finance issues, HR issues, all of those kind of things. These are things that are absolutely critical as you think about your budgets for this year and the next year and the following years. Cyber is a chronic condition. It's not going away, but there's things you can do to manage it. What do you think, Raj?
I totally agree. You have to you got to think about it from what's my people cost, what's my technology cost, what's my process cost, but you have to assign some budget to protecting against data.
Yeah. Evan, are we able to see the answers? Are we doing it at the end? There we go. So here, Raj, there's some great answers here. The poll results are defined cyber budget, 26%, using outside consultants and vendors, 42%, not investing enough, 11%, and not investing currently at all, currently 21%. So it's kind of all over the board. But again, everyone's learning, everyone's kind of acting and adjusting. And so those are all good answers. I'd like to see the people who are not currently investing at all. They need to start investing, in my mind.
And I would say the first place you would invest in is your employees. Cyber education and awareness is, to me, the most effective when it comes to protecting against threats. That's the first thing. That's the weakest link also, and it is something that is not expensive to implement and work on. So let's look at what are some of the threats that small businesses face today. The biggest one is phishing. And what's funny about this is phishing's been the #1 issue for 10 years. And all they need is a small percentage to click to get what they want to. So we need to stay very vigilant when it comes to phishing. I've got a few pointers of that we'll talk in a little bit. Ransomware is the other one. I think ransomware really changed the dynamics in cybersecurity. It is when hackers realized, what, I could lock someone's data, they'd have to pay me money before they can process. And large companies have paid a lot of money. There's been hospitals that have paid money. There have been corporations that have paid money. There have been cities, actually, that have paid money to keep their systems up and running. The problem when you have a small business, it could drive you out of business. You could lose 3-4 days of revenue just because you were locked out. Recently, this was not ransomware related, but we had the brownout in Michigan where I live. This 3-4 days, no power, and a local brewery was out for 4 days, no revenue, but they paid the employees. They were still incurring costs, rent, and payroll. So it is a costly if you don't protect against ransomware. 0 day, this is something that we all got to keep an eye out on. And what 0 day is, there's an exploit, there's an attack, the hackers know about it, but the technology company has not figured out a way to fix it. So what happens is the attacks increase, everyone knows what that is in the hacker community, and they start exploiting it. What happens is companies ignore the 0 day. So 0 day notices will come out, alerts will come out. At Sensei, we send alerts to our clients on the 0 day vulnerabilities, and you've got to patch up very quickly when the company releases the patch. So I think it was about 3-4 weeks ago, Apple had a 0 day attack, and not a lot of people updated the Apple software, and we let our clients know, hey, you need to do this right away. And the last one is insider threat. Insider threat is still prominent today. And you might not realize it could just be an employee leaving with some confidential files that you needed. They might be going to a competitor. They might be selling that to someone else. So there's a number of things that an employee can do, and so we've got to be very vigilant with employees, especially small businesses. So let's go to phishing. Go ahead.
You could answer those real quick. That'd be great. So we have David. What are the top 5 most important things that a small, medium business can do today to educate the employees on cyber issues?
So there's a few things that people should be doing. One is education awareness training, just critical. I mean, you're going to really want to, and Raj touched on that a little bit. You want to have an education awareness program where you're showing short little videos that organizations can use to train their teams or employees, because Stanford said 88% of breaches can be stopped with just proper cyber hygiene. And so you want to do short videos, right? And you want to do them consistently throughout the year, not just once a year, because you want to continue that continuous education. Second thing might be real quick is, you want to do phishing simulations. And Raj, I'm going to turn over to Raj here, because Raj, you can talk about phishing attacks, but phishing simulations, again, throughout the year to train people, not to beat them up when they get it wrong or they miss something, but to really emphasize this is about education and awareness. This is about training your teams to look for the things they should be looking for. And phishing is one of those. And then also, I think one of the other things that every organization should do is, from the leadership down, the organization needs to be talking about cyber. They need to be talking about cybersecurity. They need to be talking about education awareness. They need to be talking about what the threats of cybersecurity are to your organization. And also, how it can impact your family and your community. So we really look at cybersecurity and education awareness as a free employee benefit. And we want people to have their education awareness not only at work, but at home, at school, and in your community. So I'll turn it back to Raj.
Yep. And actually, this slide talks a little bit about that too. Is, to me, employee awareness is very critical. And as David said, doing it not once a year, but maybe every other month, give them little touch points, having a cyber hygiene poster in your lunchrooms, maybe your screensavers once in a while is a little bit about cyber. And also, when you hear about other phishing scams, educate your employees. So recently there's a scam with the signature DocuSign, and it'd be good to make everybody aware in your organization that, hey, there's issues with DocuSign. Don't click on something that says it comes from DocuSign and give your information out. So David talked about the friendly phishing test, and I'll tell you, when you start at an organization, the first time you do a phishing test, there might be 50-60% click rate on it, but by the time you get to the third one, it significantly drops. So it clearly takes a little bit of education, but it gets a lot better. Reporting phishing emails is very important. So when your employees see something that's phishing, don't just delete it. Let your IT department know about it so they can stop others from getting it. But there's also technology. There's anti-spam, anti-malware, and blacklists. That technology helps reduce some of those phishing emails. They'll still get through, but they will reduce a majority of them going through. And then monitoring your network. If you're monitoring your network, you'll know if there's unusual activities going on. If you had a lot of activity between 3 a.m. and 4 a.m. last night, that might be a trigger to say, let me look into what was going on, because all of our employees were sleeping. But to me, the most important thing with phishing attacks is user awareness training and the friendly phishing tests. And those, again, are not expensive nowadays. To do both of those items, it's not expensive. The last point I'll make is 80% of the breaches involve some form of social engineering, meaning it was an email that came to you, it was something else, where somebody got your password, somebody tricked you. But even ransomwares, a number of ransomware attacks happen through phishing, or the other way that happens is when you download rogue software off the internet also. So going on to ransomware, are there any more questions, Evan?
Yeah, there's a few questions. I can give you one, Raj.
Yep.
Should companies take out ransomware insurance, and does the cost outweigh the benefit?
That is a great question. And at first, I would say I think insurance companies are struggling with the whole cyber insurance area, and some of them have taken out the ransomware cost out of it. But if you can get if you can get ransomware insurance with your carrier, I would definitely get it. The question is, what's going to be your dollar limit for that too? I don't know, David, did you want to add to that?
No, I think your answer is spot on. I think, you know, if you can get it, I think you should get it. And I also think that insurance companies are acting and adjusting just like kind of all of us when it comes to cybersecurity. And I think talking to us, talking to your IT team, talking to your insurance company, you can get a sense of what's kind of cyber insurance you need. And in our opinion, it should include ransomware.
Yeah. So how do you stop ransomware attacks? You know, one, clearly, again, you know, the awareness training is at the top. The friendly phishing attacks, because that's one way ransomware will happen, is you click on a link in an email. I covered the anti-spam malware blacklist. But then the other side with ransomware is effective perimeter security. If you have a strong outer shell, it'd be tough for the hackers to break through that and lock down. Because what they're doing in ransomware is they're really just locking down your files, and they give you a key to unlock it. And that's basically what they're doing. If you keep your patches and security updates, that's another way to stop it, because software companies are always looking at ways hackers are getting to their systems, and they're updating those patches every day. And that's why it's important to shut your computers down every day, because you'll be up to date on the patches. Monitoring your network traffic is another way. You'll see unusual activity, and you'll be able to notice some and investigate it. Backups. The most important thing from ransomware. If somebody hacked my laptop and they locked it out, if I had a backup, all I have to do is either reinstall the image, restart the computer, or I could go to Best Buy and they could re-image that computer for me. That actually might be the better way. And then I could load my data back again. You know, I don't have to pay someone to get my data from my laptop. At the organization, it'd be good to have an inventory of hardware or software. So you know what you have. If you were to have an attack, you know what needs to be recovered, or you know where to look. And especially think about that old hardware that's sitting everywhere that might still be connected. If you're not using it, just disconnect it from the internet. Zero-day attacks. Again, a zero-day attack is one where it's a known vulnerability, and the patch by the software company has not been released, or has been released, but you haven't updated your systems. So again, updating patches security is most important. Monitoring network traffic, you know, and then you have an approved application list in use. So your employees should not be able to download whatever they want on their company laptops. They should have some restrictions on what to download. I know Kelly, we were chatting earlier, and she wanted to download this one software to change the background, but the system won't allow her to add any additional software. That is a good thing. And then the zero-day threat alert. So it's something that you do want to sign up for threat alerts from your IT vendor, or I mean, we at Sensei give it to our clients where we give them alerts on zero-day alerts. And if you're not a client, actually, if you go on our website, you'll see the threat alerts listed right on our website, so you can still see what they are. Anything you want to add, David?
No, the 0 days are what are our biggest concern. Obviously, that again, they're out there. There's an exploit that's been discussed, a vulnerability that's been discussed, and there's no patches yet. So you really got to jump on those when you see them.
And this is one that is ignored the most. You hear more about phishing and ransomware. We don't hear much about 0 day, but it is clearly a threat there. It actually was the biggest threat before ransomware came up. That's what everyone needs to focus on back, 7-8 years ago.
Yeah, and people are just confused by the term too. So Raj, I think by explaining what it is, it's going to help a lot of people. So a lot of people, a lot of organizations.
Yep. There was a blog that was written by on Sensei, so there's an example of the Apple 0 day vulnerability. You can find this on our website. So again, if you go to our website, you're going to get a number of these updates for free. Feel free to sign up for of a newsletter. We update on any new vulnerabilities that are coming out right on our website. Lastly, let's go to insider threats. So you have to, this is real. It happens all the time. And so you want to make sure when you hire employees, you screen your new hires. And secondly, that you only give them access to what they need. So that's called the least privilege access model. Don't give them access to everything. Reduce their access. Again, when you're doing security awareness training, talk about the consequences of misusing company assets, of fraudulently sharing data to external. Put in policies and procedures, and then put in physical and technical safeguards. So most large corporations actually shut down the USB drives on laptops. I'm not saying small organizations need to do that, but what you do need is to make sure that your employees are fully aware of the consequences of sharing data to outsiders fraudulently. David, you want to add to this? You worked in a large corporation. This was clearly an issue.
Yeah, when I was the CIO of Lazy Boy, this was an issue. You know, we talked a lot about. We did some really, really great stuff at Lazy Boy when it came to cybersecurity. Had a great team there, and we did some really good stuff. And one of the things we did was we sort of banned USBs, right? So no, USBs are bad. I call them malware sticks. But insider threats, I mean, if you think about it, there's the bad guys actually. Some of the bad guys, the organizations actually are set up just like a corporation like us, right? They have a HR, they have an executive team, they have an HR team, and one of them just recently, probably 4 months ago, put out out on the internet, hey, if you're not happy with your organization, drop us your password and your credentials, and if we can get into your company's network, we'll pay you. So insider threats are a real thing, and they're being targeted, and so this is something that, you know, as Raj said, screen your new hires, and it's a big deal, and so this is something you really do want to keep an eye on.
I'll give you a couple examples, and these are real examples. One was a company fires one of their IT programmers. The IT programmer puts a code so that when the next payroll is run, if he's not on the list of employees, it would shut the payroll process down, so they couldn't process payroll. And so when 6 months later he was let go, guess what? When 15 days later, when it was time to run payroll, they couldn't run payroll. They couldn't even figure out what was going on because he had changed the code. It wasn't a hardware issue, it wasn't a connectivity issue or a user password issue. So, and that was a real story that happened. There was another one that with a credit union. Somebody paid the programmer to go in and write code where instead of giving out $5 bills, it was issuing $20 bills out, and so it created an issue in the software where the bank thought somebody withdrew $10 when they actually withdrew $100. So and that again went on for 2 days before the credit union realized there's a problem with our ATM machine, and it took them another 2-3 weeks to figure out exactly why it was doing that. And those are both insider threat examples. So do take it a little bit seriously. I do want to talk about a blog written by David Kelly. David Kelly is our Chief Technology Officer, and he had written a blog specific about this topic, 5 things every small business owner should know. So he had written, there's no magic bullets. There's no silver bullet for cybersecurity. You have to think about all of this. You got to think about your employees. You got to train them. You got to think about the technology you have, make sure it's secure. And then you got to put in processes to make sure that employees are following your security policies. He talks in this about 80% of successful breaches are a result of social engineering. We talked earlier about phishing. I mean, that is how it happens. So training your employees on phishing, training, doing the friendly phishing attacks is something that you should do. David earlier talked about visibility at the top, tone at the top. A good cyber culture starts at the top down. Number 4 talks about security patches cannot be ignored, and then backing up your data. I think this blog kind of brings this whole presentation together. And I thought it'd be a good idea to wrap this with this blog. We do have a number of blogs on our website, very simple one-page short blogs that if you're interested, again, you can just sign up on our site. With that, I wrap up my presentation. We have a poll question, but maybe we can take a couple more questions from the chat before we go to the next poll question.
I got an interesting question here. Some companies prevent employees from using personal email or blocking off Google to prevent attacks. Is this too extreme?
It is extreme, but you got to think about why are those companies doing that? And the reason they're doing it is, let's say I'm on my work computer, I open my personal email, there's a link I click, and it infects my work computer. That's why they're doing it. So it is a convenience issue too. Obviously you want to maybe do something while you're at work and you don't want to access. But again, the employee can access their personal email through their phones if they needed to. So I think it's a balance that you need to create. How does it impact your culture in your organization if you block their personal emails? How do you manage the risk of a phishing attack on their personal emails that affect your work emails? The interesting question I have is a number of companies block personal emails, but not social media accounts. So they'll allow Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram on work computers, but they'll block personal emails. To me, that's a little contradictory. David, do you want to add to that question?
Yeah, I would just say, it's a great question, and I would say it's an individual. And Raj touched on it. We'll answer it really well, but it's an individual company organization perspective. It's been a question we've struggled with the organizations I've been CIO at, but it's really about what is the culture of your organization and what level of risk are you willing to take. And it's a tough one. It's a tough one. And I think each organization has to look at themselves and ask that question: how much risk do we want to take? And what do we need to do our business and do it really well? So great question.
Yeah. I would say for large companies, it's an absolute must. They have to do it. I think small companies should decide on, if you had your employees that have been there for 10, 15 years, you might think differently, but there's a risk. You got to evaluate your own risks.
Yep. It's a great question, though.
Not
an easy one either.
Yeah. Evan, you have another question before we go to the next poll?
I think we got time for one more. So as a small business, I can't afford expensive cyber experts. At the same time, I can't make sense of all these tools. Where should I begin?
There's a lot of great free resources out there. I would it's October Awareness Month, so I'm gonna promote an organization here real quick. The National Cybersecurity Alliance, who I have a long-standing relationship with, is somebody you should reach out, you should look at. They have a lot of good free resources on their website that you guys can download, a lot of good education stuff. Secondly, I think, if you're in Michigan, go to the State of Michigan website, their cybersecurity site. They also have a lot of great information, some free downloads, some things that, if your budget's really, really tight, those are the kind of organizations that you should be looking at. Federal government does a good job, CISA. They do, if you go to CISA.gov, I believe, they have really good resources as well. And then, I think even your local government might have some on their website as well. But there is no shortage of free information out there. But yeah, and then Raj, what do you think?
I was going to add again, Sense really just works with small businesses, and that's what we're here for. Also, we've been trying to help small businesses with more affordable ways of doing things. So it's something that you could always call upon us. But we have a lot of resources on our website right now, and even on our LinkedIn page. If you follow us on LinkedIn page, every day we are posting some kind of help that'll help you. There's an alert, you're going to get that alert, and those are, again, free resources that will not cost you anything. Let's go to the poll question. So in this one, maybe David, I had written this case study, and this is a real case study. Happened about 4 or 5 years ago. A hacker actually phished Google and Facebook, and both Google and Facebook, Quanta was a common vendor, IT vendor, and the hacker phished them, sent them invoices like they were from Quanta, and both paid about 100 million in total to Quanta between the two. Google and Facebook, got the legal authorities involved, and they were able to recover 49 million and extradite the hacker from Lithuania. So that was, even though they lost 50 million, they were able to recover half of it. Now, my question here is, if this was similar and the hacker had phished a small business in Battle Creek fraudulently for just 250,000, how much did the small business recover? I'm curious to see what everyone thinks.
So the answers are select one of the following: $250,000, $124,700, or none. Raj, ransomware is ransomware and getting phished and all of these kind of things are like I say, this is something that's not gonna it's not gonna change. There's
Right.
things we can all do to protect ourselves, and I'm glad we're doing these webinars to help educate folks so they can protect themselves.
Yep.
And here's the answer. So the question again was: a hacker phished a small business in Battle Creek to fraudulently pay $250,000. How much did the small business recover? $250,000, 9% said that. $124,700, 0% said that, Raj, and none was the most popular answer at 91%. So, Raj, what's the answer?
Well, that's interesting because no one said half, because that's what Google and Facebook got half of their money. The challenge small businesses have is, one is getting the resources for the FBI or the legal system, and you'd spend more than $250,000 to recover your $250,000. I think even if you did something, you're going to recover some, but not it won't cover even what you spend on it by the time you hire forensic consultants. So I think for a small business, and that they're not going to recover the cash that they lost. And this, in this case, not even a ransomware issue. This is a phishing that money got paid out, and now it's tough to get it back. And that is a common problem also.
So is the answer they got none back, or they got half back?
Why? I guess you hope they got half back, but I think a small business, the challenge, it would be very challenged to recover that money.
Okay.
They just won't have the resources.
Yeah. Great. Any other questions, Evan?
Not right now.
All right, great. What last poll question of the day is: do you need assistance or guidance with your organization's cybersecurity strategy? And again, this is the last poll question of the day, but every organization should have a cybersecurity strategy. It's not unlike your finance strategy, your business strategy. You have all these different strategies, your sales strategy in your organization. Cybersecurity is one of those key pillars of an organization now. And so, do you need assistance or guidance with your organizational strategy? And select one of the following answers: yes, immediately; yes, in early 2023; or no. And again, these are things that are just critical to running your organization and protecting your organization as you go forward. Raj, anything on that one before we show the answers and kind of close it up for the day?
I would say, everyone needs help. It's finding the right help is the challenge nowadays. Like I think somebody said earlier in the question, there's too many different technologies out there, and how do you figure out what is right for your organization? But I would say do something at least. Here we got the results coming.
Yeah, and here's the results. And does your organization need assistance or guidance? And 15% said yes immediately. Yes, in early 2023 is 23%, and 62% said no, which is good to hear, because we now know that over half the people on this call, their organization is focused on cybersecurity. for the other ones that aren't focused on cybersecurity are going to start focusing on it in 2023, or the funding will be available in 2023. You know, that kudos to you, because you're getting on the right path. So again, this has been great, Raj. Awesome job. And Evan, I want to thank Evan Brisky in the background for helping us out with the questions and the poll questions. So Evan, or any additional questions from the audience?
Just a quick recommendation on any kind of password keepers. I know you guys were talking about that a lot earlier.
You know, here's what I might suggest on that. Maybe that might be a blog topic for us for this month, Evan. And if you give us maybe another week or so, we'll post a blog on our site, because I think there's a number of them. We might be able to give some insight into some of them. We'll look at even some of what Gartner recommends, David, to give everyone some feedback on that.
Yeah, I agree. Let's do something. Let's put something on our website and put something on LinkedIn on that, because there are a lot of good ones, and we highly recommend people start using them.
Yep.
All right. Well, I think I want to thank Raj and Kelly, and again Evan, for putting on a great presentation today. I hope everyone learned something. I want to thank SBAM again. They did an outstanding job of helping us promote and work this webinar today. If we go to their website, there is something called Ask the Expert. And today you had the luxury of having Raj Patel, an expert in cybersecurity, to provide his expertise to you. Don't hesitate to go to the SBAM website, jump on there and ask a question. It'll come to us and we'll answer those questions for you. But please do celebrate and work with your teams for Cybersecurity Awareness Month here in October. And I hope everyone stays safe, and happy Halloween. And Raj, thank you again for an outstanding presentation.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Take care, everybody.
Take care.
Bye-bye.